All right. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon, and good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome each and every one of you. I thank God for you joining us today. Thank you for being with us. It's your girl, Angie Fox, and I am glad to be in the house today. We're rolling here on the #1 empowerment platform in the nation. That's right, you know what it is. www.womeninspirationalradio.org and the Empowerment Podcast Network. Go ahead and do what you do. Call your neighbors, call your friends, call everybody that you know, and tell them to tune in now and stay tuned in to the #1 platform in the land. Hey, I'm in the house with We Are One, and I'm glad to be here. You all know how I go. When I roll and I'm this excited, it's usually because I'm not rolling by myself. So as you all have already imagined, can see, and will hear, let me tell you now that I'm happy to be in the house with the beautiful Sister Queen. She's a bad girl. She's a bad girl. You've seen her, you've heard her before on this show, and I'm bringing her back because she has a whole lot more to offer. This young lady is called Miss Angela Wynn, none other than the baddest chick in town, Miss Angel Wright LLC, and she's going to share with you all. And this is actually part 1 of a 4-part series. So sit back, get your pen and pencil, call your neighbors and tell them it is time to learn and hear from the #1 publisher, writer, author, you name it, she does it, and she's going to teach you how it's done. So it gives me great pleasure, and it is my honor to present or represent to each of you my very special guest on today, and a beautiful sister queen indeed, Miss Angela Wynn. How are you?
I am super, super amazing.
Yes,
Angela,
yes.
thank you so much for having me back at We Are
Yes.
One.
Thank you
Because
for
we
being
are
here.
one.
We are one. That's
And
right.
I am so glad to be in the house.
Yes.
And today I am going to share the 5 mistakes that matriarchs make when writing a memoir.
Yes,
I
take it away.
specifically work with my matriarchs, but these mistakes anyone can take advantage of. It's just that in my niche, I make sure the sassy, mature, older women become unforgettable by writing these memoirs. And the first thing we can talk about is some things not to do. Right. All right. So there are 5. Get your paper and pen ready to take some copious notes. I am just going to speak from the heart. And if you have questions and you're able to put them in any type of YouTube chat or send them over to We Are One, I can answer those as well. But I believe that I am going to answer those things that you may most likely ask.
Yes.
And so #1 is confusing memoir, journal, and autobiography. All right. And that's just for yourself because you want to be clear about it. I want you to know that for me and the people I work with, the journal is your private diary. A lot of people have been keeping journals since they were children. Right. And it is their goal to have them unlocked, I guess, when they're gone, and then have their family read all of these things. So very personal, tears on the pages, blotted up, all of that, a personal diary. The memoir for me is when you've taken what's been personal in your journal and you decide what you will reflect on. So it's not your whole life, but it will be a thread of your life. Is it going to be that thread of your life where you found that you were a caregiver, where you found that you were an overcomer, where you found that you were compassionate or nurturer? There's going to be something about your memoir that is going to be the thread of the same type of memories. Okay. That's what I want you to think about with the memoir. I also want you to realize that nowadays, everyone's writing a memoir. We used to think about it as something when we were thinking we're about to become to the end of our lives, we're going to write a memoir. No, it is simply a memory. I know folks have done, they're on their 3rd or 4th, because whenever they go through something, they want to express it in a book, they just call it a memoir. And it's about how they traveled through a certain memory. So just know that you can do this over and over again with a theme and with a consciousness of what you want to share. And then, of course, your autobiography is your account, but it's probably more historical. It probably is that account that chronicles when you were born and where you were born. And you're being very historic and you're being very factual. And these things can be checked on because you are including them as an historical, I would say, like genealogy.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's more serious, in my opinion. And those people that want to do that, they've been collecting their facts for a long time. And these are not as, a journal is not as detailed. A journal is your emotions daily, but someone that knows they're going to do a autobiography, they are literally chronicling maybe even the weather that day, or almanac. I mean, they are getting it down to something that you can check.
Okay.
Now, the thing about that is, if you notice that when you are, I would say like a celebrity or something, and something happens, you notice how right away they can put up almost like just the historically on that person. So that just goes to show you, if you are interested in an autobiography, you've been collecting. And so that when you are gone, it is already there, that kind of thing. So those are the three things. The memoir is for the reader, okay, other than yourself. The journal is you, however you might be doing it, however you want to look back, laugh, cry, personal. And the autobiography is like your historical account. So that's number one, to just know the difference between a memoir or journal and autobiography, and for yourself, because you may not agree with me, right? You might say, hey, in my journal is literally what I'm going to use for my memoir. But just know that not everything in your journal has to be in your memoir, is the biggest point for me. Now, number two is thinking that your story is unique. It is. It is unique. It is, because it's your point of view. But if you are thinking that no one has ever read about someone with an alcoholic father, or no one has been through a divorce or abuse, that is not true. There is very rarely a story that we haven't heard. What is unique is we haven't heard it from you. And that's why we love to read over and over again about someone's experiences. We know these things happen, but what was it like for you? That's the thing I want people to realize. So you want to pull out what makes it about your abuse or about your divorce. And a lot of times the things that we think are, people don't want to know that, or that's boring. No, it's not. No, it's not. Because they may need to compare it to something they went through and say, wow, they can relate. Or they might say, I never thought that this same thing could happen in this way based on what you reveal. And that is why it's so important to be authentic. Don't write what you think people want to hear. If you can, tell the truth. It just makes you more relatable. So that's number two, thinking that your story is unique, but knowing that your point of view is what makes your story something that people want to read. Number three is your chronological whiplash. And that's when I would say we are writing for ourselves, and we just go back and forth because we know what happened when we were 8, and then when we were 28, and then when we were 5, and then when we were 50. And the reader is doing just that. They're going here, they're going there, they're going here, they're going there. They're trying to keep up to put the story together. But if we plan the story so that the reader can read it in order, their engagement will build, okay? Because if you start telling me things out of order, then I already know what has happened. You want to lead me there in a way that builds my excitement. And so when you take me back and forth, I'm kind of like, what do you want me to know? And what is the story about? Now, I will say that we have gotten better with this. A lot of TV shows now have now trained our mind to kind of process information in that way. And so now we see a lot of TV shows where they'll introduce something from the past, something from the present, something from the future. And we'll realize, all right, this is going to happen. Like they now will tell us things that are going to happen because they'll show us the past.
Right.
And an example of that is like the show This Is Us, if anyone has heard of it.
Yes.
They have now made it so that no matter what they show, our mind knows, oh, that's coming up, hasn't happened yet, but I can look forward to that.
Yeah.
Or that was in the past. That's something you can do with intention. Only if you know you're doing it. You don't want to do it and be unaware of it. Sometimes you'll see in a book, they'll say, oh, I'll tell you about that later, but you're reading something right now. So that throws you out like, So you just want to keep in step with what happens in the order that it happens, so that that's the same thing that happens with the reader. Don't tell me the ending first. Don't do that. Don't make me read to get to that satisfying end. So that's number 3, chronological whiplash. We're not going to do that. Okay. And number 4 is, I spoke a little bit about this, and that's no memoir strategy. That's where we're telling a bunch of stories that can all be interesting, but they're not getting deeper and deeper into our theme. So if our theme is from victim to victor, okay, each thing that we share should be taking us, it's going to take us further in first before we start to overcome. And so that means as a person writing, we're going to strategize that. Now, we always write freehand as writers, and we always should, but then we have to look at what we wrote and pull out, where is the strategy? How should we put this in the correct order? Right? And so that strategy is going to be very subtle to the reader, but to you, you might have had to sit down and nope, that's not it. Nope, that's not it. Right?
So write and rewrite.
The reader reads it, they think it's flawless. I love how readers think, like even the Bible, just, oh, they just flawless. You know, we have no idea what had to be revealed in the mind to be put in the pen and put on the paper. And it seems so flawless and so subtle, but we always have a strategy that we use. And that strategy is going to serve us for the entire story, right? I do teach, and maybe that'll be another one of our parts, Angie. I'll tell people how to come up with the actual 2 sentences that will describe what their book is about.
But
and
you will teach that. You will help writers with that.
Yes. Because once you get that, you just put it right at your computer. And as you're writing, when you go off, you're like, oops, that was nice, but let me get back over here. Right. And you can always save anything you've written. It could work well for something else, but you want to keep the reader on the same page. How am I doing with time, Ange?
You're good. You're good. You're great. Keep going.
All right.
I just kind of always thought writing was just, you write what you think, you write what you're feeling, you write what you've been through, and boom, you got a book. You know, even
that's how we have to make it seem.
Yes.
Because then you wonder, like, wow, why does it take a person so long to get a book out?
Yeah.
You know,
yes.
That's because they are plotting, they are making it work, they are revising it, they are rewriting it. And then when you get it, you're like, wow, this is flawless, amazing. And they are like, oh, all that they've been through. But that's for those of us that like to write and we want to share our story in that artistic way. The very last one is writing false statements. Now, when you are writing your own story, it is true for you.
Right.
Sometimes we write things and it's true for us, but that does not mean it's true. Okay. So even though you're going to be authentic, and even though it's coming from your heart, you don't want to write false statements. Those false statements are going to be your opinions of whomever might have done something to you. Now, that is how you feel, but that does not mean that you could decide to call someone something other than what they are. Or if you're doing something in a way to ruin someone's reputation on purpose. okay? Most times, whatever you're writing for, whoever you feel might have been an imposer in your life or have wronged you, they are not even aware. They are not even going to read your book. You are not part of their life in any way. This is usually in your mind, right? This is how you feel. This is how you need to resolve it. So you do want to move forward in that way. What I've seen people do is the things that we do before the book starts, and we say, this is a true story. I have changed some names I have not. Like, you can literally be aware of what you want to express. You can literally say what you want to say in a way that is concise and correct without calling anyone out. I've seen people do things like most people born during my day and time, someone in my family molested me.
Yeah.
That was their whole sentence. They did not name who, how, any of that. But then they could emotionally talk about how they felt, what went on. And I mean, that's grace to that person because no name was said. And I mean, if family members get together, well, who was that? Who was that? They could be like, they know who it is. And this is not about them. I don't want to give them any more credit at all. I want to reveal my heart and say what happened to me. And this way, you have not at all, said it was anyone.
So
I love it when people, yes.
I'm sorry, if it's a situation like that, because I just spoke with a young lady recently, too, as a matter of fact, where she was raped by a relative. And she was talking about a book, but she wanted to mention his name, but she did not press charges, so he never was convicted. Although the police was called and all that happened, he was never convicted. So me not knowing for certain what to tell, I just simply said to her, and I don't know if it's right or not, so I'm bringing it up to you now. You can't write it in a book and put his name in it because he was never convicted. That could be considered slander, although it is what happened and it is you sitting in your truth. He was never convicted of that, so you cannot I thought it was a legal matter.
That is very
Put
true.
his name
exactly
in the book.
What you said.
Okay.
Because you're exactly. So guess what? That's a journal thing.
Right.
Put the name in there. I mean, come on, right? Okay. But you cannot. That person literally would have rights to do that because there is not anything legally documented, right?
Right.
Even though you know it to be true, you cannot do that because, I mean, that could ruin that person's reputation. That is slander. It literally is. Now you can put it in your journal, or if you personally want to send something to the person, they already know, what has happened. Right. And to use your book for that, that's almost like you're just not done with it and you want to purposely strike out with them in the book. It's not gonna serve you well. Relieve yourself in your journal and then put it in your memoir in such a way where should they decide to read it, they will feel it because they will know that it is them. Okay, but you don't want to spend a lot of time answering questions about someone's name or someone in your family. You don't want that.
Okay, I have another question. Yes. I met another young lady and she has a book. It just came out. It's just coming out and she's getting ready to do a book signing. It's published and all that. Now she wrote under a pen name, using a fake name and all of that because she shared intimate details about what happened to her with a family member. I didn't read the book. I haven't gotten the book yet, so I didn't read it. And I don't remember asking her if she called the names, but I want to say I believe she wrote the names in the book, I'm thinking, but she used a pen name. Or maybe she used enough details in the book where the person knows it's about him. But I also believe she said that there are some charges that have been pressed and is pending. So the case is ongoing, but her book is out. But she wrote under a pen name so as not to show that she was the one who disclosed the info. So is that a situation that you
You
would
have to be
recommend?
very careful of that. I mean, once again, was she using the pen name thinking that whomever this is not going to know it was her, but yet the details you're going to describe this person in this scenario in detail. Yeah, probably would have had a conversation like, why did you want to do it this way? Right? Yeah, that's going to be things like that. Just have someone on a legal team when it comes to literate, check it out.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
I would say that because a pen name, I mean, I know people write in pen names, but I try to get you to use your own name. I mean, a lot of times people have a reason for doing that, but usually for me, there is people that write in different genres that just use different names to keep their mysteries from their romance, for example. But if you were doing it so that that person wasn't going to know it's you, it's still going to be found out because a pen name still has to be revealed.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
Yeah, you just would have to find out why did you need to do that. I get the release, but it could have been easier to not use their name.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Or not describe them as they look, but really the name, something about a person's name. The person that does it the best for me is like a Terry McMillan.
Right.
Everything she writes is true and it's about her. But what does she do? She changes all the names. She creates a whole nother scenario. And then she dares you to act like you thought it was you.
Yeah.
Okay. So I do like people that do memoirs and embellish and make clear that this is a story that I wanted to tell. It has my truth in it.
Right.
But this is how I've done it.
So you teach people to make it even interesting or exciting to keep the reader engaged and
exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Plus, you can get rid of your fact checkers. There literally will be people, if you say, I used to go to Pop's potato chip store, they will be like, that wasn't named Pops, it was named, and you're like, okay, that's not a big deal, but they could say this is not factual because that was not the name of the store. You don't really have time for that, especially if you are a matriarch. You can remember the candy store without remembering the exact name or the exact street.
Right.
And I want you to have fun writing. I don't want you sending stuff off to say, what was the name of that store again? No, do not look in the ledger to get the right, highway and all of that. People are reading, they either are reading for pleasure or pain, like both spectrums. Okay.
Right.
That's why they read. That's why they hang on. They're either in pain and they're like, let me escape my pain, read about somebody else's, or they're in pain and they're like, let me read something pleasurable. And so that's why we write. And that's why your memoir can be exciting to anyone, not just to your family. As a matter of fact, when you sit down to write, imagine reading it to someone that you don't know. That will make you include more details, right?
Right.
Because if you're just writing it for your family, you figure they already are going to fill in the gaps. Well, what if I decide to read it?
Yes.
Fill in the details for me. Describe people. Tell me how they are. Give me some emotion. Let me know if they need to change. Let me know, did you change?
Yeah.
Because usually throughout the course of a story, you cannot stay the same, or there's no need of us reading this story. So those are the 5 memoir mistakes that matriarchs make when writing a memoir.
Okay. Interesting. Very interesting and helpful.
Yes, in order not to leave those hanging, all of this information is in a free ebook. And it is, you'll do your typical, HTTPS : all of that, but it's www matriarch, MATRIARCH, memoirs, MEMOIRS.com, and then the / ebook. And that way, everything that I just spoke to you about is available in that book. And it'll also give you an opportunity to become one of the folks that I can send emails to and
Okay.
writing prompts to, because you'll become part of my list.
Wonderful, wonderful. So we've heard a lot of information that is really helpful. And I want you all to remember that this is just part one of a 4-part series. She's going to walk you through this thing step by step and help you write your book. So if you're thinking about being a writer, you're thinking about you would like to do your memoir and you don't know how to begin, even if I'm not mistaken, you will also help if I want to write the memoirs of my mother, who has already passed away. That's still, she will walk us through that. So listen, find her. She's Angela Wynn. That's Angel, Angel, Wright, WRITE,
LLC.com.
Y'all listen. She's got plenty more. Stay tuned in right here on www.womeninspirationalradio.org. She's coming back next week. She's going to be back in the house doing part 2. But listen, log on now and find her ebook and get this information for yourself. Again, that's www.matriarchs.com/ebook. Don't miss it. She's got a lot more coming for you. And I thank God for you, Angela Wynn. Thank you for being with us today and sharing so much information to help us become those excellent writers that we are going to become. Yes, I said we, because even though I have books written and I have one published, I did not follow any of this when writing because I didn't know. So now I know better. So guess what? I will do better. So join me in doing better. Continue to join us right here every Monday at 12 noon on womeninspirationalradio.org. You can find every one of these videos. You can see her as well as hear her on WIR TV. That's our YouTube channel, Women Inspirational Radio. And of course, you can follow us on our podcast network, Empowerment Podcast Network, and We Are One is there. Listen, find her and contact her now. She's on Facebook, Angela Wynn. On Facebook.
I'm on Facebook. I'm on everything is Angel Wright LLC, Instagram, LinkedIn, all of that. That's on it. Facebook, business. Yep, Angel Wright LLC. Right. Check me out, guys.
That's it. Hit her up, follow her, like her, contact her today, and get started on your book. We thank God for each of you for being with us today. And we hope that something has been said to help you. Come on, Angel Wright. We'll see you back same time next week, back in the house for part 2 of this 4-part series, Mistakes Matriarchs Made when Writing Their Memoirs. That's today's episode. Looking forward to you all being with us again next week, same time, same place. We love you. God bless you. Have a wonderfully blessed day.